Hey everybody, Mr. J here. By the end of this video, you will have obtained 6 core concepts that will help you understand every single aspect of anatomy and physiology. It will be incredibly helpful, so watch through to the end, and I promise you, you will really benefit from this. So let's get started. So first off, let's talk about what anatomy and physiology actually is, what it actually means. So on this slide, obviously I have a hammer. I hope you know that at this point. Now, when I ask you what is the anatomy of this hammer, I'm asking for physical characteristics of it. What does it look like? How is it shaped? So I could say, hey, this hammer's anatomy, it has a long shaft made of wood, and then it has a head that is kind of formed like a T, and the head is very heavy. Okay, that would be the anatomy of the hammer. But what's the function of it? Why do hammers look like this? Well, it's because you use a hammer to obviously hammer nails in. So you need a good long handle to make some speed as you hit that nail, and then the head has to be really heavy, so it applies a lot of force onto that handle. So there's kind of a lever going on and then a heavy head to hit the nail. That would be the function or the physiology of the hammer. So in all of your anatomy and physiology class, I want you to think, hey, how does the structure of this cell, of this tissue, determine the function of that structure? Okay, how does the anatomy determine the physiology? And that's my first core concept, is that structure determines function. So what does each mean? Anatomy is the structure, physiology is the function. So let me give you some examples of this in your body. Your skin's anatomy is incredibly determinant of your physiology of your skin. So for example, your skin is very stretchy. It has a fatty layer on the subcutaneous, the bottom layer of your skin. It is very durable. It covers all of your body. So the physiology after that anatomy would be, hey, you're going to be protected from the external environment. You're going to be insulated with that layer of fat so you stay warm. You're also going to be able to move and touch things without it breaking your skin because it's really tough and durable. So the structure of the skin determines the function of the skin. You could say the same thing for your teeth. Your teeth, the enamel of the teeth, the outer layer, is one of the hardest surfaces in our, it actually is the hardest surface in our body. So that is a really hard structure, okay? It is pegged into your mandible on the bottom or your maxilla on the top. It's really sturdy. So it's sturdy and it's strong. And why do we need it to be sturdy and strong? Obviously, to chew your food, right? That would be the physiology. So it's super tough and sturdy so that it can break up food, tear apart food. So for like the canines, really sharp, it helps to like kind of attach to food. And then the molars are a little more flat to grind food. So again, the structure of the teeth determine the function of the teeth. And that's my core concept number 1. So how can I remember the next 5 concepts? Well, if you remember this acronym, SLUSH. If you can remember SLUSH, these are my 6 core concepts. So number 1, the S is structure determines function. Most important one, okay? Let's keep moving on. The L, location, location, location. What do I mean by this? Well, when something is released into your body or whenever you obtain something into your body, depending on where that thing goes, it may act or move in several different ways. So I have this example here. You've heard of adrenaline, right? Otherwise known as epinephrine. Okay, this is the chemical adrenaline. In some of your neurons, so these cells that send signals, they communicate using this epinephrine, this molecule, okay? So a neuron would talk to something else, whether it's another neuron, whether it's another cell, and it's going to communicate directly with one cell usually, just one other target cell. Now, that's when it's being used as a neurotransmitter. However, if it's put into the blood, a different location, now it's going to travel to every cell of the body, virtually every cell of the body. So now this epinephrine can make an effect on a wide variety of cells rather than just being localized to that one. Okay, so depending on the location of something, it might act in a different way. Okay, that's just one example of location, location, location. Let's go to the third. You use it or lose it. Okay, this is true of our bodies. We've probably heard this before. If you don't use something, you're going to lose it. And the biggest example would probably be muscle atrophy. If you do not exercise, you do not use your muscles, your body will determine basically those muscles aren't important anymore, right? So let's just break them down so we can use them for energy because we're not using them anyway. So that is a common form of use it or lose it. There are other examples of this. For example, when things are going through your digestive system, if you don't absorb it, if you don't bring it in to use it, you'll lose it through excretion. Okay, same thing with like kidney reabsorption. If you don't bring solutes back into your bloodstream, you're going to lose them through your urine. So that's another example of use it or lose it. And you see it in a variety of other ways too. Number 4, S, squeaky wheel gets the grease. This is my favorite one. If you're riding your bike and you hear your front wheel squeaking, you're not going to get your WD-40 oil out and oil the back tire. You are going to oil the tire that's having the issue. Your body is incredibly adapted to fix the biggest problem available to it at that point. So the biggest problem that is present, your body will do everything it can to alleviate that problem. So let me give you an example. Fainting. This is one of my favorite examples. So with fainting, what happens is, well, several things could happen so that you would faint, but I'm going to say blood pressure. Say your blood pressure is super low, so it drops. Maybe you lost a lot of blood, right? Well, if you lose blood pressure, guess what is likely going to not work as well? Your brain, because blood pressure is important to keep that blood going to every part of your body, right? So if your blood pressure drops, the heart's pumping here, blood's not going to get up to your brain to feed your brain all the nutrition that it needs through your blood. So your brain is really interesting. Since it's losing that blood supply through low blood pressure, it literally gets knocked out. So now you're not in control anymore. You fall over. What's interesting then is if you're falling over, rather than having to pump blood up against gravity, now you're laying flat. So now the blood can just pump side to side to your brain. So it's almost a way of your brain saying, hey, you're not giving me enough blood, so I'm going to knock you over so that I can get more blood so you don't have to work against gravity when the heart's pumping. So that's one example, the squeaky wheel getting the grease. The brain wasn't getting enough blood, nutrition, so it knocked you out so that you would be laying down so that your blood can get to your head easier. Another better example would be blood clotting. Say you have a cut on your arm and you have severed blood vessels, so blood seeping out of it, you're losing blood. Well, there are these little fragments of red blood cells that are going to be called platelets, and they're going to go to that localized area to form what's called a blood clot. Those platelets will like to accumulate here. They should not and will not accumulate other places in your body where a clot is not needed. So again, the squeaky wheel, this cut, localized cut, gets the grease, gets the platelets, all right? So let's go to number 5, homeostasis. This is the most important. Now, homeostasis, big, long word, it means similar standing. These are things in your body that have to stay within a set range in order for your body to adequately function. Okay, so let me give you an example that'll help you understand it. Things like body temperature, things like blood glucose, blood sugar levels, blood electrolyte levels, blood pressure, blood pH, acidity of your blood, all these things are things you need to keep relatively constant in your body in order for your body to survive, right? To work properly, okay? So what are some examples of homeostatic variables? Blood pressure. Normal blood pressure is considered 120/80. Way lower than that would be hypotensive. That would be potentially dangerous. Like I mentioned before, you might faint. Or you could also have high blood pressure or you may be hypertensive, so high blood pressure. Both of those are too far high or too far low. Therefore, you don't have homeostasis in that value at that point. And interestingly, the absence of homeostasis or the inability of your body to maintain that set point is called disease. So that's why hypertension is a disease, because you can't keep your blood pressure in the homeostatic range, okay? Now, same thing with body temperature. So anywhere from 97 to 99 degrees Fahrenheit, you're pretty good. But anytime you get above that or below that, your body notices, hey, this is not right. We're not going to function very well in these low or high conditions. So we need to do something to bring it back. Okay. So that being said, I'm not going to go into homeostasis as much. Go ahead and watch a video where I talk about homeostasis and negative feedback loops. Basically, your body is going to do something if you get too warm, like sweat to cool your body off, or if you're too cold, your body will shiver in order to get back into that set point. So your body will do a whole slew of things to try to get those values back to that set point, okay? Last one, high to low. This you will see a lot in physiology. So looking at like cells and looking at different nutrients moving in and out, The biggest one I talk about in my classes is the gas exchange at the lungs. So you probably know that when you breathe in, you bring in oxygen to your body. That oxygen is used by your cells to make energy when they combine with sugar, glucose. But the reason we can bring oxygen in and also push carbon dioxide out when we breathe out is due to the concept of high to low. Things in nature like to flow from levels of high concentration usually to low concentration. If you don't believe me, pick up something and drop it. It's going to go down, right? Things like to flow from high to low. Same thing with concentration gradients. So what I mean is when you breathe in, there's a very high concentration of oxygen in the air that we breathe. Okay, so when you put that into your lungs, there's going to be high concentration of oxygen here. Okay, well, at the end of your lungs, this is called the alveoli, a little gas sac in your lungs, there are going to be blood vessels. And they're going to be carrying a lot of carbon dioxide. These are wastes that your cells have made. So there's going to be a high concentration of carbon dioxide and a low concentration of oxygen in the blood. So what happens? Well, the high concentration of oxygen wants to flow into the blood, and the high concentration of carbon dioxide wants to flow out of the blood into the lungs. This is gas exchange. Because of those high and low gradients that we have, oxygen goes in, carbon dioxide leaves the bloodstream. Thus, we have that gas exchange at the lungs. Okay, so that's all that I'm going to go through today. The next videos, we're going to talk about how we actually study and understand the human body. We're going to talk about levels of organization, as well as the 11 body systems that we have in our organ systems in our human body. Hey, thanks for watching this so much. Please, if this was helpful, like the video, subscribe to the channel. I really appreciate it. And thank you for watching. I hope this was helpful.